this up for y'all. There you go. There you go. Oh, this is gonna be a hot take vid? It's gonna be a hot take vid. Yeah, he's really good at titling and thumbnailing his videos. And they're always just like one screenshot.
I saw it too, and I can't. I've never seen that in all my days.
It's impressive as fuck.
The good old hot take. The necessary evil of the sports world. Through the good ones, the bad ones, and the downright atrocious ones. We once again find ourselves racking our brains, trying to figure out how some people come up with this nonsense. But today, I've done the brain racking for you and found some of the hottest NBA takes on the internet. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the circus. Today's video is sponsored by SeatGeek. With football season, you can find the premium good it's in 20 geek apps. And so after a long off season, I did my reluctant scrub through NBA social media. And to absolutely no surprise, there was no shortage of oddball takes. And here are some of the more interesting ones I came across. Now, our first take kind of blew up a few weeks ago because this NBA fan introduced an entirely new angle on the GOAT debate that many people, including myself, have never heard or considered before.
I'm surprised we didn't react around
unpopular opinion.
I think that if LeBron came before Jordan, there wouldn't even be an argument about who's better.
Now, whether you agree or disagree, the take itself is actually really interesting. She doesn't—
Yo, bro, I seen the same take, but in the music world with Doja Cat and Nicki Minaj, bro. Crazy thing to see. But someone on Twitter was like, yo, if Doja Cat was right, if Doja Cat came up on the time where Nicki came up, yo, Nicki wouldn't even be the #1 rapper in the world type shit. And I'm like, is she spitting? Is she spitting? Nah, deadass, what the world gonna do if Say So released in the mid-2000s, though? They're like, nah, deadass. Let me chill.
go into more detail, so she's either implying that if LeBron came into the NBA in the 80s with his size and skills, he would have dominated the league so much that his resume would have made him the undisputed GOAT. Or she's implying that even if their careers remained the same and they just swapped spots on the timeline, LeBron's legacy would have been cemented as the GOAT and his resume and accomplishments would have been too overwhelming for Jordan to overtake him. But the first scenario is completely hypothetical. We don't know the extent of which LeBron would have dominated in Jordan's era. To assume we could just drop him in as a rookie in 1985 and he would win everything all the time is a bit naive. And even if we somehow could, it's difficult to imagine he would have accomplished more than MJ did. Now, scenario 2 is a bit more interesting. If their careers remain the same, but LeBron came before Jordan, would he be considered the GOAT by the majority of NBA fans? Even if LeBron came before Jordan and everything remained the same, their accomplishments and stats and impact, Michael Jordan would still be the greatest player of all time. In fact, there was a LeBron before Michael Jordan. His name is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Scored more points than anyone else in NBA history. Greatest NBA prospect of all time. Made it to the finals 10 times and won 6 championships. The most of any player at the time outside of the '60s Celtics. Made the most All-NBA teams, had the most All-Star selections, had the most All-Defensive Team selections in NBA history by the time he retired. Won 6 MVPs. Still the most of any player in league history. Kareem literally accomplished everything in basketball many times over. Had the frame and the skill set way ahead of his time, and
but this is what I'm saying when it comes to this whole GOAT debate. I think people need to remember that like Jordan was already in GOAT conversations by ring 3. Okay? So this idea that Jordan's case for being the GOAT was only because of 6-0, 6 rings, 6 MVPs or 5 MVPs, whatever the fuck it is. Like that wasn't the case in 93. It was about his skill, his impact on the court, and how dominant he was. So even back then, it looked like the argument was about peak for peak. You know what I'm saying? And I think if LeBron James did come before Michael Jordan, one, I think he would have accomplished more if it was just time chamber. LeBron developed the way he did in the 80s. I think LeBron would have dominated the fuck out the 80s. You see what I'm saying? But ultimately, though, it's such a hypothetical thing. But if we just switch the careers and let's say LeBron was drafted in 84, had 4 rings, had 4 MVPs, played till 05 and was averaging 27 and 7 the whole time. And then Jordan came onto the scene, and in 2023, we're talking about a dude who won 6 rings. I'm not gonna lie though. In that scenario, because motherfuckers are still gonna bring up the competition argument, right? And if we're just assuming if shit's flipped and Jordan in today's era went 6 for 6, Jordan might look tougher though. I ain't gonna lie. Jordan might look tougher if he went 6 for 6 in this era. No cap.
Was by far the best player in the league for an entire generation. In fact, Kareem's resume is actually better than LeBron's. He did everything LeBron has done and more. And still, people anointed Michael Jordan as the GOAT over Kareem, despite Kareem playing before MJ. There's nothing I can say that hasn't already been said. Michael Jordan was just way better than everyone else every single time he stepped foot on the court. He had such an overwhelming gap on everyone in the league that even when he was getting bounced out of the first round of the playoffs as a young guy who hadn't really done anything in the league yet, players and coaches around the NBA almost unanimously proclaimed that he was the greatest player to ever touch basketball. Just imagine if a player today won 3 titles in a row and then won 3 more titles.
Is that Dwayne? TSO Dwayne. Yo, I ain't gonna lie, Dwayne. Get that TSO shit out your name. We know who you ride with for real. I ain't gonna lie, Dwayne. Nah, dead ass Dwayne. We know who you ride with for real, bro. Stop faking that TSO shit if you're not TSO for real, bro. Just dead ass, bro. You know, dead ass, bro. Like, cause I know you a Wami warrior, dog. I ain't gonna lie. So stop capping for the chat, bro. Change that shit to Wami Dwayne and keep it pushing. Come on, dog.
Titles in a row, and was the best offensive player and the best scorer, and was first team all defense every season.
Hey, Dwayne, that's what I'm saying. See? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, change that shit. Next time I see you chat, that shit better say Wami Dwayne. Okay, Dwayne? I just think it's disrespectful to Dom. Deadass. Not deadass. That's it though. I'm not checking. I'm just... Be real. Be yourself. Be yourself. Come on, bro.
And was the biggest global sensation off the court. We are now a quarter century removed from Jordan's last days with the Bulls.
Oh my God, we
and
got
his
118
brand
in here?
is still way
Big
more
118?
relevant than anyone that has come in the league
Hell yeah.
since. Even the old heads at the time, the guys who watched Kareem and Dr. J and Wilt, were joining the Jordan bandwagon. Now, I'll admit that there's some nuance being overlooked here. LeBron has played tougher competition. The league is far more talented now.
Nah, I'm sitting on my square with my take on the pod, bro. I've been Team MJ to go for the longest, but this year I'm switching sides. This is the year I'm switching sides, bro. LeBron's my GOAT. Okay, LeBron is my GOAT. And I'm saying that with my chest. Yeah, I'm saying that with my chest, bro. Yeah, that longevity is just too different. And I understand. Oh, so you got Kareem at 2? Eat a dick. How about that? I don't gotta be consistent. And you know what? That's what I love about being such an unserious NBA YouTuber now, bro. I can say shit like that, right? I can say shit like that. Eat a cock, bro. That's my top 5. Yeah.
Than it was 30 years ago. But even with all that considered, eras and competition, skill set, talent, Jordan would still be the GOAT, even if LeBron came before him and had a cemented position as the GOAT. I know this because there was an established, beloved, unanimous, and even more accomplished GOAT.
No, but that ass though, that's dude, I don't need to write a dissertation as to why LeBron's my GOAT. You know what I'm saying? Pull up advanced analytics, got to play for advanced stat muse. Nah, bruh. That's my GOAT. And that's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say.
When Jordan came into the league, his name's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Michael Jordan took his spot as the greatest player of all time. This next take comes from a fan who says that Nikola Jokic peaked higher than Kobe, KD, and Kareem. And although scorching hot, there may be some truth to this. Let's take a look at the numbers. Here are the peak 3-season stretches from Kareem, Durant, Kobe, and Jokic.
I don't know about Kareem, though. I don't know about Kareem. But we'll see for the other dudes.
Now, clearly, Kobe was the best scorer of the four. Kareem was the best on defense, but pretty much every other metric falls in Jokic's favor. He's a bigger offensive threat than the other three with his scoring and playmaking, his relative team value, or how much he impacts his team's...
Did he just... Is this how he... Wait, let me hear that back.
Every other metric falls in Jokic's favor. He's a bigger offensive threat than the other three with his scoring and playmaking.
And these are the stats you look at to establish that? What the fuck? He not even number one up here.
His relative team value, or how much he impacts his team's winning, is greater than the other three. He's virtually as productive as the other three, and he achieved this productivity on record high efficiency with a true shooting percentage that dwarfs the others. And he did this on relatively low usage. The eye test says Kobe or Durant were probably better at their peak. Most of us didn't watch Kareem, but his...
That's lame, bruh. You just like their handles better. They could dunk better than Jokic, and the handles better. Doesn't mean your eye test is the... Nah.
His numbers and impact on a championship-winning team suggest he was even better than Kobe and KD at his peak. And still, Jokic has a slight lead on even Kareem. So in regards of the peaks of these four all-time greats, Jokic contributes the most to winning. He's the most efficient with his possessions and his scoring. He's more productive than Durant and Kobe, but not quite as productive as peak Kareem was. He possesses the greatest overall threat offensively. He has the most individual value to his team, and he doesn't need the ball in his hands as much to do it. So, yeah. I'd say if we're strictly talking about peaks, Jokic peaked higher than Kobe and Durant, and might have peaked higher than Kareem, but it's hard to say since I never actually watched him play. This is a good take. Now this fan says that Harden is a top 3 shooting guard ever. They changed the rules because he was too good. And he's 50% right. The NBA legitimately changed some rules to slow down peak Harden. It's actually crazy to look back at some of these stat lines from just a handful of seasons ago.
Yo, I know Ash crying in the bed right now, bro. Damn. Every time I join a space and Ash is in it, motherfucker's just depressed, man. God, I feel bad for the kid, you know? I feel bad for the kid, man.
Foul hunting, shot chucking, call it whatever you want. 36, 7, and 7 is wild. And let's not forget, if Durant doesn't join the Warriors, there's a decent chance Harden has a ring right now, and his legacy is completely altered. But
does he?
But he's still not a top 3 shooting guard in league history. Mike and Kobe are the clear 1-2.
This is the same dude that made the video about butterfly effects. The butterfly effect of KD not going to the Warriors is kind of crazy. So to say that Harden just wins a ring if KD doesn't go to Golden State, I don't know about that.
And so for Harden to be 3, he would have to be ahead of Dwayne Wade, which he's just not. As far as skills and talent, it's actually really close. But D Wade's career and impact on winning teams was far greater than Harden.
You know what's crazy? That's the funny thing about Harden fans. They never go above 3. They only argue top 3 because it sounds nice. You know what I'm saying? Because being a top 4 shooting guard of all time is just, but when you say top 3, but everyone knows you're not better than Kobe and MJ, it's like, okay, yep, this is okay. You know, like that's just the Harden mentality type shit. Never fighting for 1, never fighting for 2, always fighting for 3.
And he's the clear 3rd best shooting guard of all time. But I do consider Harden as the 4th best shooting guard of all time, ahead of players like Clyde Drexler, Allen Iverson, and Reggie Miller. Now this next take comes from LeBron, who in an interview back in 2010 had this to say.
Yeah, if I really wanted to, if I really wanted to be a scoring title, I would do it every single year. Every single year.
I believe that. I believe that.
But it doesn't matter.
Now,
I believe that. If LeBron legitimately wanted to average 35, 4, and 4 every single year and not give a fuck about team success, he could legitimately do it.
I don't know if this is a hot take or not, because according to 20 years of evidence, LeBron 100% could have won the scoring title in pretty much every season he's played in the league. In fact, I think there's a lot of players who could win the
But, okay, he was about to say, my question would be, if everyone else had that mentality, if Kobe had that mentality, if Melo, if AI, if all of these all-time great scorers had that same mentality, would LeBron get the scoring championship? I think that's the real question when it comes to that hypothetical. But if it's literally the rest of the league just operating the way the league is operating, and LeBron's the only dude that only cares about scoring, of course LeBron could average and lead the league in scoring every single year. Yes, he would. Shit, I don't... Melo did have that mentality. Now, that's tough. And he still only got one score chip.
scoring title every year if they really wanted to. LeBron, KD, Steph, Dame, Giannis, Embiid, Booker, Luka, Kawhi. If you can get a bucket, you can get a bucket. The difference between scoring, let's say, 25 a game and 30 a game is simply shooting more shots. For example, in nearly every season MJ won a scoring title, he also led the league in shot attempts. By a lot. In fact, 24 of the last 30 scoring titles went to the player who attempted more shots than everyone else did. Among elite scorers, winning a scoring title usually comes down to an extra shot or two every game. Throughout LeBron's career, if he attempted as many shots as the league leader did, and his shooting splits stayed the same, which tends to be the case for volume scorers, he would have won 12 scoring titles throughout his career, including 8 straight from 2008 to 2015. In fact,
what is this, points per field goal attempt type shit? But per 36 is hypothetical. All right, buddy.
Throughout Michael Jordan's 13 seasons with the Bulls, he averaged 23.3 shots per game. If LeBron attempted 23.3 shots per game throughout his career, he would have a career scoring average of over 32 points per game, the highest of all time. If LeBron tried to, he could have led the NBA in scoring nearly every season of his career. And our last take for today actually comes from Michael Jordan himself. Now, over the years, Michael Jordan rarely has much to say when it comes to his opinions on the game. He has mastered the ability to dodge tough questions and usually keeps his opinions pretty ambiguous. But when it comes to the Magic versus Curry debate, MJ was definitive on where he stands.
Although greatest of anything is always a debate, I beg to differ on greatest point guard of all time with what you said. Magic Johnson is easily the best point guard of all time. Steph Curry is very close, but not in front of Magic. You must define point guard to really have a serious debate. Steph Curry is by far the best shooter of all time. Yes, his movement has created many shots for his teammates. He's a career 43% three-point shooter. But Magic Johnson invented the triple-double. Not true invented, but makes it more noticeable in terms of the impact on the game. It's a point guard stat, to be honest. Magic was the best. We can go on, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you get the point. By the way, Magic has 5 NBA championships.
Wow.
That quote this morning at 5:45 was from Mr. Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
Wow, how about that?
And he asked me.
What the fuck?
Wow.
He asked me to read it on the air. He said, I'm not backing up for it. He said, I'm tired of this argument about Magic Johnson not being the best point guard in the history of the game. He is the best point guard in the history of basketball.
Sure, when you look at their careers at face value, Magic is still much greater than Steph. But these debates continue to fail to bring up the difference between the best and the greatest. Up to this point, Magic Johnson had a greater career than Steph. But was he a better basketball player? Magic dominated his era more than Steph has dominated his, so by definition, he is the greater player. He achieved more. But if we're looking at skill set and ability and context, then I think Steph is the better player. If you had to choose between the two to play on your team, who would you pick? As a quick experiment, here are 2 former NBA players. Both all-time great players, both played in the league for over a decade, but one of them is...
Who is this? Who is this, chat? Who is this? Who is this? Guy on right looking like Giannis. Guy on left looking like Bob Pettit or some shit. That's my guess.
Is more accomplished than the other. It's pretty obvious that player A is greater than player B. Except player A is 50s NBA legend Bob Pettit, and player B is Giannis.
Come on, Chad, I do this shit.
Now, this is an exaggerated example, but the principle is the same as the Magic Curry debate. Bob Pettit dominated his era like Giannis has dominated his, but Giannis's era is vastly better than Bob's was. Magic was revolutionary for his time, but his time was nearly 40 years ago. The game has taken leaps and bounds over the last 40 years.
But I'm gonna be honest though, Chad, I think with these debates, it's just like an unspoken rule that like you cut it off at the 60s or at the 50s. You start at the 60s with Bill Russell and Will. I'm gonna keep it a stack though. I'm gonna keep it a stack. The Magic and Curry debate is interesting though. I'm leaning towards Steph, but it's more so of a peak conversation and a longevity conversation. I think by the end of Steph Curry's career, he'll actually have the longevity argument for him. Peak for peak is closer than I might think, though. I don't know.
To compare stats and achievements to decide who had the greater career is pretty simple. But to use those metrics to decide who was the better basketball player when they played 4 decades apart from each other is tough to do. If the question is who is the better player, I think the answer is Steph. If the question is who is a greater point guard, well, then the answer, for now, is still Magic Johnson.
But even those two statements, what does that mean, though? Better player in what context? And then what does being a better point guard mean? I know that sounds like, yeah, I'm gonna talk in third person real quick. That sounds like BSOLZ being obtuse. Yeah, that does sound cringe. I'm not doing that again. But like being a better point guard is different in certain situations. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like Steph Curry being the point guard for those Showtime Lakers just would not have been the same, you know? And vice versa. If Magic was the point guard for the Warriors, wouldn't have been the same. Yeah, that was crazy. I'm never talking in third person again. I tried it, did not work out well, so I'm not trying it again. But I will applaud myself for trying. You know? Yeah, shout out to Jimmy for the video though. W hot takes. They weren't too atrocious.